You can't tell me you're 32 and your father or your mother wants to sponsor you and they are putting their bank statement. They don't trust you enough to give you that money, which means that money is not even available for you. Remember, these immigration officers, most of them studied psychology and philosophy and all that. They have beliefs they apply and they understand the concept and the law of the country. So you can't tell me you are single and unmarried and you're 25 and your father or your mother, your parents can't trust you enough to put that money in an account in your name. And then you tell us they will trust you enough to transfer the money when you have gone to Canada. They've seen a lot of this. Canada is very particular about show money now, and they verify. In the past, they never did like that. They took you for your word, but a lot of people are taking advantage of the situation and the system, and they are now working hard to cram down on those that are taking advantage. So I will answer you because I've seen people making this mistake genuinely because they are doing business. So they put the money, they forwarded statement to Immigration Canada, and in their study plan, they said to Immigration Canada, they had maybe 10 million naira or 20 million naira available for their studies. But they have gone into the account and withdrew money that is below that money they told Immigration. He said, no, I don't want him to know how much I've worked because children are now kidnapping their parents back home. So if you as a parent has issues with your child, how do you expect Canada to trust your child enough that they cannot break the law? Remember, this is about trust, right? So without digressing, it's a two-edged sword. You need to show why. If that child is disabled, then that child, you can say, we have taken care of this child, they cannot walk. Or you're supporting that child, you will give them that money and give them deed of gift. So this, I'm just digressing now, but that's how you can address it. You can use your parents, but the presentation is what matters, right?
Hello and welcome again to Immigrate with Alice H. My name is Happiness, and today with me here is Dr. Sandra.
Hello, how are you?
So today we're going to get right into what we have for you today. We're going to be talking more about GIC, the importance of GIC and why you need to use GIC. And also we're going to be talking about the new change about spousal work permit in Canada. There's a recent change in spousal work permit in Canada, and we're going to be talking all about that. So you need to make sure to stick around to get all the information regarding all of these, okay? So we're going to kick it off with our first question, because we get a lot of questions from people who watch our videos, right? So the first question is regarding my bank statement, and it goes this way. Sending my bank statement to Immigration Canada, can I withdraw the money or remove the money after sending the bank statement to IRCC? So if I can make sense out of this question, so if the student sends my bank statement to Canada, can they withdraw their money out of that account after they've sent their my bank statement?
Okay, thank you very much for this question. This question has always been addressed to me, even in private consultation, right? And I will keep telling you that Immigration Canada is a lot different from most immigration. Some people will even challenge me that they know people that put money in their account and pull it out, then submit it for UK embassy or American embassy, and they got their visa approved. My answer here is that Canada is very detailed. Canada is a country that likes to check and check and check again, right? So if you send your my bank statement, before someone else will ask me, what's my bank statement? My bank statement is the statement of account. That's your 6-month statement of account that you send directly to Immigration Canada from your bank, and it will generate a code for you. Immigration Canada will use that code to access that bank statement. Now, the thing is, when they access it, they will see the last date of the day they're accessing and the start date of the date you send them. And when they access it, you put the money, you send them the bank statement, and then you withdraw the money. They will see that withdrawal. That's why most people will do that, and they come back with rejection. We've had rejection coming back to say, we had money in our account and they rejected it. Then when we request for their bank statement because we want to look at it, we know these are common errors. We realize that they have the money there forwarded the bank statement to Canada, to IRCC, that's Immigration Canada, and then they withdrew the money. You will see the withdrawal. When the officer goes into the account, that's what the officer is going to see. And he's going to reject because what you have done, what you did, or what that action shows was that money was not available for your use.
Yeah.
It's a show money.
Yeah.
And they are going to reject it. Canada is very particular about show money now. And they verify. In the past, they never did like that. They took you for your word, but a lot of people are taking advantage of the situation and the system, and they are now working hard to cram down on those that are taking advantage. So I will answer you because I've seen people making this mistake genuinely because they are doing business. So they put the money, they forwarded statement to Immigration Canada, and in their study plan, they said to Immigration Canada, they had maybe 10 million naira or 20 million naira available for their studies. But they have gone into the account and withdrew money that is below that money they told Immigration Canada.
Yeah.
They are going to reject you.
Yeah.
But in a case where it's a business account and you have 30 million naira, and then you have 30 million naira that you told Immigration Canada is mapped out for your studies. What you're saying is this money is not part of your business funds for transaction. That is the money you've already saved up.
It's money set aside
for your studies. So which means that money will always remain in your account as a closing balance from the 6 months before you submit and during the time they are deciding this application.
Yes.
So you do not withdraw money as soon as you've told them 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 is mapped out for my studies. You can withdraw whatever that is excess to do your business. But that particular one you mentioned out, that particular one you mentioned in your letter to the officer that is mapped out for your studies and it will cover the cost of your studies. You are not supposed to touch that money. Thank you.
Okay, so this has just got me wondering, like, is it that because I know most people use consultants, right? Is it that the consultants don't tell them the implications of pulling out this money from their account after they put the money in there? Because the way I see this thing, it's like if you pull the money out, it just points you straight to rejection.
Okay, so I will tell you out of my experience. I can't speak for other consultants, right?
Yeah.
And based on my experience, I will say I don't think so. I think they did their due diligence, and under the law in Canada, if you use a registered consultant, they are obligated to give you the right information, but we are not obligated to decide for you. So the clients I've worked with, they will tell you that I'll give them all the options, explain the ups and downs for them. It's their decision to make. What I said to them is, you are now making an informed decision because you paid me. What you paid me for is to give you that information so that when you're making your decision, you're making it based on informed fact, which is why we're doing this video today, to make sure that this reach a lot of people so that they don't make the mistake in error, right? They don't make the mistake as a novice. They understand the implications of this. But let me not digress. There are some people that I will say that to. Some will be open to me and say, oh, doc, no, I can't do this because I need the money for business. Then I will start emphasizing on why they need to leave the money.
Of it.
Some end up leaving it, some don't. I've had a client quite recently. He told me, okay, I've hired you. I'm going to leave this money in my account. But what this client did was we submitted account. 2 weeks after, he withdrew the money.
Oh.
And used it. When the rejection came, it was this same client that said, I think it's your problem. You said we already know that that's people. Like the hardest business I said to people is the business of dealing with people.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to be diplomatic. So what I'm trying to say is sometimes you tell them, they make that decision, they will still come back and say no to you. So what we do is we then request for that bank statement from you.
Okay.
We say, can we get your bank statement to present? If the rejection is bordering around funds.
Okay.
And then we'll request for your GCMS note. Because in that GCMS note, we'll know what the officer saw.
Yeah.
When they made that decision. Sometimes the officer will say, I saw the money, or I saw the withdrawal or the deposit that was mentioned, but it was withdrawn on so day. Sometimes the officer will say there was no money available, which means the closing balance was not reflecting that.
Yeah.
Sometimes the officer would say I saw the money, but there was no explanation.
Mhm.
We'll go into that further so that we don't encroach into
So what is that GCMS note? That GCMS note, what is that?
It's a long term that I can't really start defining, but is
Yeah, just break it down. Like,
yeah, I will tell you what the
what it
document
is,
is.
really.
It's when you request for the information or the steps that for the information I say of documents that is held by Immigration Canada
Okay.
for a particular person. So I don't know if it makes sense what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So assuming that I want to know, I've got some clients that have got rejection because they use roadside hustlers. That's what I call them, because they're not registered to do this application, and these guys don't work within any law. Nobody is controlling them. So they do application. They don't even give clients the forms they filled, the documents they submitted. My practice, we don't do that. We give you all the document because you need to know in case if you want to go somewhere else, and then you need to know what we submitted. There is no secret there because it's your application, right? So some of them don't do that. Then when they come back to us because of rejection, they want us to address the rejection.
Yeah.
And they don't have any document. All they have is that rejection letter, which has their UCI number or the application number. We use that and request Immigration Canada to give us all the forms that were filled, give us all the documents that were submitted, and the officer's decision note. Because what the officer gives you is a generic decision.
Yeah.
So they have made their decision to reject you. They need to change within a column where their decision falls into.
Yeah.
We don't see that decision. We don't see what led them to choosing that generic decision. So what we do is request for that note. That note, the officer will state, I saw this, I saw that, I saw that. That's why they chose that generic rejection. So without that GCMS note, you won't be able to tell exactly the line of thought of the officer that led to that rejection. And most times when we address rejection, not most times, 99% time when we address rejection, that we do not know the obvious reason. Some we do know, some we have had a client quite recent, submit the application. We had everything in control. Then the officer asked me for LOA. Yeah. Because they said the LOA that is submitted is not valid. The school has withdrawn it. We went back to the school gave us another one that they have already withdrawn. The officer ended up rejecting the visa. So this one, we know it was LOA. At that point in time, we don't wait for GCMS note because we knew the challenges we had already. But when we don't know, we have to ask, because if you don't do diligence in the application and the officer rejects, we want to know the officer's thought so that we can address it accordingly. Yeah. And that always gives us positive results.
Okay. That's good.
Thank you.
Circling back again to GIC. I know we talked about GIC in the last episode that we had, last video that we made. We talked about GIC, and you really went in depth into GIC and everything bordering around GIC. But there's still something that's lingering around that GIC, right? Now, when students do GIC, right? Let's say for students who are in Nigeria, for instance, do they do the GIC with like connecting the Nigerian banks and the Canadian banks? How does the GIC work?
Okay.
Do they need to do it in conjunction with the Nigerian banks do it in conjunction with the Canadian banks?
Okay, so if I get your question is if GIC can be done in collaboration with the Nigerian bank and the Canadian bank. The answer is no.
Okay.
It's done through the applicant's bank account. So let me explain how GIC works in summary.
Yeah.
Right? GIC, for you to open a GIC is like having a bank statement or a bank account, in Canada.
Okay.
And for you to fund that account, the originating bank must be your bank. Because somebody asked me that question. It was one of the questions that I was asked online. Somebody asked me if they can use their spouse or their parent account to fund their GIC. And it's a no, because it's not terms of condition with the GIC banks in Canada. The account where the money is coming from must originate from the person's country of residence. So if you live in Nigeria and you're opening a GIC account in Canada, the account that will be used to fund that GIC account in Canada must be in the name of the applicant, not the applicant sponsor.
And it has to be
or the
Nigerian.
applicant,
It has to be
but
Nigerian.
It has
account.
to be a Nigerian account, but it's not done in collaboration with Nigerian banks.
Okay.
What is done is GIC would generate a deposit slip for you. Then you take this deposit slip to your bank in Nigeria, which is not a Naira account because they don't do it in collaboration with Nigerian banks. They don't use Naira account. So you have to open a domiciliary account, mostly in US
dollar
or pound sterling.
Okay.
Then you use that because I think that's the only two accounts my clients have used to fund the account in their GIC in Canada. Then you use that account to fund it. Now, how can you do it to bring in payments? I know I'm answering this question and I'm trying to factor in other questions that might come up what people have around this. How might you use your sponsor? If your sponsor had that money and they put it in your account, you open a dollar account or a domiciliary account, let's say, that you will use to fund the GIC. You need to now, what I tell my client is, you need to now trace the money back for them. Does it make sense? We'll talk about it in our next question.
What does that mean?
So what that meant is, because you opened this new domiciliary account,
yes,
you deposited money, it's not up to 6 months. They'll need to know where this money came from. They too are controlling money laundering, right? So they need to know where that money came from. So if the money is coming from your sponsor, who is your parent or your spouse or your company, I've seen people that have been sent by their company to come and study and they pay for it. That company will give you the statement that shows when they withdrew the money from their account to your account. So the statement will be showing the date the money left their account to that your domiciliary account, because they can read it in the, it will come up in the bank description details. Then you print that portion of that statement from whomever your sponsor is.
Yes.
And then to say, this money was provided to me by my sponsor.
Okay.
On so date, you could see it on the bank statement of my sponsor in my account. Then from that, my account, which is this bank account, then you give a statement of that your domiciliary account that came from Nigeria to Canada.
Okay.
Because I'm trying to factor in another question from a client that said they had about 50,000 Canadian dollars, which is enough to cover their 1 year.
Yeah.
I don't think there is no school that does a master's that 50,000 can cover, right? Because 20,600, that 21,000 Canadian is your maintenance for 1 year as of today, right? Then I said as of today because sometimes Immigration Canada will review it.
It could change.
So
later.
as of today, when you're watching the video, you need to check the date and make sure it's still 20,000 or 20,635. But for the purpose of this video, we'll do 21,000, right? Now you need to make sure that I was saying that there is no fee that will be more than that, because even if it's a master's, it will be about 20-something thousand. Then your maintenance rate. So 50,000 is good money. But this person submitted it. It's not a client. They just came for consultation. They submitted it, and they had a rejection. Now they came to me to interpret the rejection or tell them what to do with their GCMS note. So I'm looking at the GCMS note. The officer said, I saw the money in their GCMS note. But I had concern about the origin of that money. For that reason, I do not think this money is available for them, because honestly, they have seen people coming into Canada with GICs.
Yeah.
And these people, when they come into Canada with GICs, they withdraw this money now and send it back to where it came from. And they are homeless. They are going to food shelters. They before you know it, they are going into asylum. Canada is trying to cut on unnecessary taking advantage of asylum.
Yeah.
Right. So asylum, that's what most people know it, but we call it refugee here, refugee claim. They're trying to reduce on I'm telling you, people are abusing it.
Yeah.
It is there for people that need it, but a lot of people are abusing it. Right. So that's what they're doing. That's why they're clamping down on this.
So they are just trying to make sure that people who are coming in are genuinely coming in to study.
Yeah, they are bona fide students. Remember, there's
bona fide students.
Yeah.
They have all the finances and all the requirements.
Yes.
Especially finances.
To at least allow them finish their studies and start up a life if they want to stay.
Exactly.
Because Canada is a country that allows you to stay if you want to stay, right? There are so many programs that you can use to resettle yourself in Canada.
Yeah.
But they want to make sure that when you come in, you are able to finish your studies, which allows you to settle in Canada. We are going to address this case in another video, maybe on this channel or another of our settlement channel, where we'll talk about what it takes to settle in a new country.
Yeah.
Countries like Canada, it's difficult to settle if you do not have acquired skill in that country, especially with Canada, it comes with education.
Yeah.
I'm telling you this because I have had my PhD from New Zealand, but I have to. When I get into Canada, I had a lot of degrees, but I have to go through the process again. I was one of the stubborn ones. Like, I've made a name for myself. I'm a published author. I can't do this. I have to be recognized. Yes, they recognize my certification, my degree. They recognize it because it's from a Commonwealth country. It's from New Zealand, who is their sister country because they are all under the United Kingdom, right? But regardless, I had that issues with employer. So Canada understands, the government understands that we have spoken to these employers, but there are things they put in place that will make the employer needing you to have that experience in Canada, especially from academics. It's a high professional job, right? So they don't want you to drop out of school. They want you to finish the school so that you are marketable.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you come and you don't finish that school, you drop out of school, then you join the category of people that they need to push.
You become a problem for
them.
Yeah,
become a liability to them. Nobody likes, even yourself, you don't like liability.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So we have another question here. So a case where someone is married, right? Or they are yet to be married, right? They're just on their own, a bachelor or a spinster, right? And they're wanting to come to Canada. Can they use their parents as a sponsor? Because I know there's a column when you're filling the form, there's a column where it says, who is going to be your sponsor, right? So if you are single, you're not married yet, right? Who can be your sponsor? Or let's put it in two ways. If you're single and if you are married, who can be your sponsor?
All right. So I've mentioned about being married before.
Okay.
In other videos, if you don't know what I've said, you can go and watch the video, but just let me recap on that. If you're married, the best person to function as your sponsor or your backup sponsor, it's your spouse.
Okay.
Right? Because they're your immediate family. Whatever you're going to gain as a skill will be more advantageous to them as your family. So it's natural and right if they invest and sacrifice for you.
Yes.
Right? So that's why I think Canada is about family orientation. I think that's why Canada is choosing that, opposed to saying my uncle, my step uncle, my auntie. It's a long distance. What do they have to gain from sacrificing? Like, coming abroad is a very big investment now. Looking at the present state of financial involvement. So it's a very big investment now. So why is that person investing? If it's not your spouse, what would they gain from it? Do you understand? Now, that is for married couple. For unmarried people, yes, you can use your parents. Even for the married applicants, they can still use their spouse. But with Canada, once you're a mature student, the available money needs to be in your account.
Okay.
You can't tell me you're 32 and your father or your mother wants to sponsor you and they are putting their bank statement. They don't trust you enough to give you that money, which means that money is not even available for you. Remember, these immigration officers, most of them studied psychology and philosophy and all that, and they have beliefs they apply. And they understand the concept and the law of the country. So you can't tell me you are single and unmarried and you're 25 and your father or your mother, your parents can't trust you enough to put that money in an account in your name. And then you tell us they will trust you enough to transfer the money when you have gone to Canada. They've seen a lot of this, even with the spouse. One client approached me and said, I can't give her the money. Yes, we have that.
Wow.
We see all sorts.
Okay.
Approached me and said, I can't give her the money. Now, this her is the wife.
Oh.
I don't even want her to know my bank statement. So I'm going to send the bank statement to you, submit it to Immigration Canada. When the visa is out, just give her visa. I was like, that is saying not united.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the past, when I've been in immigration for quite a long time. Even
Okay.
before I relocated to Canada, I've actually been in immigration from 2006, 2005. I've been in immigration. Then during that time, most countries would take any sponsor.
Yeah.
Because the world then was not as bad and corrupt and manipulative as it is today. I just have to use that word, but that's what it is now. It's changing. A lot of colors are coming out, right? A lot of things are coming out. So that's what the world is. And when it changes, the policy is going to change. People making decisions will adapt to the present changes, right?
Yeah.
So that time you could say, my uncle, print your uncle's statement. They believe your uncle will give you the money. But now when they now start saying, okay, the uncle will provide the money, then they start seeing a lot of people being stranded and asking for the government to help them in one way or the other because their uncle littered them or left them stranded in the country. This became a big issue.
Yeah.
We start seeing spouse that will come up here, women, and the husband will tell them, I just helped you to get the visa. You have to struggle for yourself. They said that when people come abroad, they work and pay their fees and maintain themselves. That's a lie. I'm not telling you because of I have seen others. I have lived it. I've been an international student in United Kingdom. I've been an international student in New Zealand. It's only Canada that I came as a permanent resident. But other countries I've been to, I've been as international student. You cannot be able to work and save for your full tuition fee and maintenance. You will barely be able to do your school work and save a little bit to feed yourself and pay your maintenance. Most of us that traveled abroad in the 1990 something and early 2000, they will tell you the truth. It was never easy. For people like me, I've always been lucky to have a strong support bond as my boyfriend and now husband. Because most people will message me and say, are you single? I'm not single. I'm married. And there is no Dr. Sandra without that, my backbone. I have been very lucky to have him as I was in a long relationship with him. I'm sorry to digress, but he was my support system when I was abroad. And then I had scholarship. So that was why it was easier for me with the scholarship and his financial support. Right? But you can never come and want to work and pay your tuition fee and pay your accommodation. Excuse me. That's not realistic. So Immigration Canada is now clamping down on that and immigration of other countries. So when you want to use your parents as your sponsor. They can act as a sponsor. Actually, what I call them is, I refer to them in my submission letter as backup sponsors. Why do I say backup sponsors? Because your first 1 year tuition fee must be in your account, in your own name. It must be for us to increase your chances of positive response. I don't promise visa because nobody can promise you visa. Just get this straight. Some of you come and you say, I want you to promise that you guarantee. Nobody will guarantee you, not even the Prime Minister, because nobody controls immigration of any country. Talk of Immigration Canada. They go by the rules and regulations. And when you can present an application abiding by that rules and regulation, there are chances of high chances. I call them chances because sometimes they could just reject it because the officer maybe did not interpret your case well. Then you can challenge it. Right? So, but when you do that, the high chances is the money needs to be in your name. If the money is in your parents' name, you need to justify. I had a recent client that is saying to me, I've sent one of my son abroad and it was my bank statement I used last 2 years. Yes, last 2 years it was doable. We used to do it because we submit the parents' account and we'll put a lot of evidence and show that the parents has put evidence that the parents has been sponsoring this student long before, right? But now it doesn't work again. They are going back to that rule of dependency, where it says if that child is 21, they are no more your dependent.
They are no longer kids,
They are no more your dependent. So anything they are doing is individualized when it comes to Immigration Canada. So if that child is 21 and not undergraduate, the best thing is to get the money in their account. You need to show Canada that you trust them enough for Canada to trust them that they will abide by the rule and be bona fide students. If you don't trust your own child to put the money in their account, how much more will Canada do? I said to them, my clients, so you can't trust your son to create a domiciliary account where you will follow him to the bank, deposit in his account, and then follow him there and send the money straight to Canada. The only way he can get that money back is when there is a rejection. He said, no, I don't want him to know how much I'm worth because children are now kidnapping their parents back home. So if you as a parent has issues with your child, how do you expect Canada to trust your child enough that they cannot break the law? Remember, this is about trust, right? So without digressing, it's a two-edged sword. You need to show why. If that child is disabled, then that child, you can say, we have taken care of this child. They cannot work. Or you're supporting that child. You will give them that money and give them deed of gifts. So this, I'm just digressing now, but that's how you can address it. You can use your parents, but the presentation is what matters, right? Okay.
So the next question that we have, I think you have kind of answered this question from all of the things that you have said now, because it borders around source of funding for the GIC, right? So it says, can I use my sponsor's bank statement, like my parents' bank statement, their business registration, and their invoice as supporting document for the GIC, and preferably a copy of a check from my parents facilitating the process of GIC?
Okay, so let me start with the facilitation of GIC. It will not even happen because the money can never originate from your parents' account to your GIC account. It has to come from your parents' account to your account in your country of residence, then to the GIC account. But yes, you can use their document to support your application if they are sponsoring you, right? But you need to have that 1 year in your account. So you can use your parents' business registration. You can use the invoice to show that the business is real, because that's what we have been seeing now. Some people register CNC and they give dormant business. Immigration Canada goes to check now. That's how diligent they are being about application now, right? So you can use all their documents to support the fund, but that fund will originate from your domiciliary account in your country of residence to that your GIC account. But to show where the money came from, maybe I saw one recent graduate is 24 and he's a recent graduate from Nigeria wanting to come and do masters in Canada. Apparently, this person won't have enough money because they've not worked enough. So if you're saying you had up to 30, 40,000 Canadian dollars, it has to come from somewhere. That money will now go through your GIC if you want to, through your DOM account in your country, and then through your parents' account. Then you will now say, my parents gave me this money because they have been my sponsor and they know I have decisions and interest to go and do my master's abroad, which will help me to grow. And the growth of yourself is the growth of your parents.
And plus you're a recent graduate.
And you're a recent graduate. So then your parents' business will be shown now to show how they generated that money. Because if you don't show how that money came by, they have issues with that too. So yes, you can use your parents' document to show the origin of that money. Remember the last time I said there is difference between origin or source of fund and available funding, proof of fund. Proof of fund is different from origin or source of fund. Right? Source of fund meant maybe the money is not there, but it's a means that generates the money, from which means your property that will pay you rent is source of fund. Your business that will generate fund is source of fund. But available fund or proof of fund is that money sitting in your account. So your proof of fund needs to be money sitting in your own account, while your source of fund could be the document or your parents' business. Does it make sense now?
So those documents are more like they're like support.
They are source of fund. Origin of that fund. But the proof of fund, the availability of that fund needs to be in your account, because when the rejection when the rejection letter comes, what the letter always says is, I do not believe there is available funds. Remember, the word is available. So available fund, which is the proof of fund, needs to be in the applicant's name. I cannot overemphasize on it. Right? Sometimes some people are lucky they get away with it being in their parents' account. Most times I've seen even 18 years. One officer actually said to me, I'm rejecting this because the students have no access. They have no assets. No assets and no employment to show the proof of fund. Then I responded back to the officer. in our next application. I'm like, this person is 18. When are they supposed to have worked to save this amount of money?
Mm-hmm.
The parents have done, they did their due diligence. They created an account for this applicant, moved the money to show you that this money is readily available.
Provided documents to show source of
fund, and then you left all this information and you're going to 18 years old child to ask for her property and her assets. The officer didn't respond back except with a positive approval. This is what we do.
Okay.
We make sure we do our due diligence so that when that rejection comes, because we can't promise you that there will not be rejection. There will be, but what we can promise you is that we'll do. There could be. But what we'll promise you is that when it comes back, because we did a due diligence, we'll follow it up. Yeah. So that's it. That's what.
All right. Thank you for all of these these responses to these questions, and I believe those people who asked these questions that they've gotten enough insight into the questions that they asked. Your response has elucidated a lot of things for them, I believe. Right? So we're going to kind of pivot to a different angle now. So now we're going to be looking at the new open work permit updates at the moment. So there's a new update on spousal work permit, right? Can you just elaborate on that for us, please?
Okay, so there is a new policy update that is coming into effect on the 21st of January, which is this coming Tuesday, right? So it's about open work permit for international students and foreign worker.
Okay.
So about open work permit for their spouse, right? So there is this modification. It's been there for international students, but the foreign worker was now recently included, and a lot of adjustment was made by the minister. For the international student, it's made it that people enrolled in masters, but not just any masters. Before they said masters, but now the new modification is saying masters, and it must be a 16-month or above masters.
16 months and above master's program.
Yes, because some masters are 1 year master's program. If you're doing a 1 year master program, your spouse won't be able to come with open work permit. Someone asked me, can they really come to Canada? They can come with visitors visa, visit you and go, but they cannot go get open work permit, which allows them to work in Canada.
Okay.
Right? If it is 16 months, someone else asked me again, if it's 16 months, but they have stayed 6 months, will it work? Yes, there was a gray area initially when because of the way the officer the minister worded it. We're thinking that if you have stayed your 16 months, if it's 16 months and you've stayed 3 months in Canada, it won't work. But that is with the foreign worker. He said the foreign worker has to have 16 months of work while they're in Canada. So the law is just saying 16 months of either master's degree program, 16 months or more, or 16 months of available work permits for a foreign worker.
All right.
Or 16 months they need to be in Canada for their spouse to come with them. Nothing more, nothing less than that. Because, for a foreign worker, there is nothing like education that will determine the month. It's just the employment. So the employment has to be more than 16 months. And they have to have 16 months worth of visa or 16 months worth of stay in Canada for their spouse to apply.
So at the point of their spouse applying for their work permit
for foreign workers,
for the foreign workers, the main applicant should still have 16 months
of available work in Canada. So 15 months or more that they will be in Canada to work,
to enable the spouse to apply,
to submit,
to qualify to apply.
To qualify to apply.
Okay.
But for international students, it's 16 months of masters or more. There is no condition yet that says if they've finished their first semester, they cannot apply. So I wouldn't say that. But we need to be very careful because Immigration Canada might refine it data. Sometimes they give this policy control and they find out, it's not clear. They will define it later. It's just starting on the 21st, which is coming. And some people will submit the application even when they have stayed one semester, but their master's is for 16 months.
Yeah.
We'll see what the officer says. But for now, is a 16 months or more master's program, and dependent children are not allowed open work again under foreign worker program. So if you're a foreign worker, not a student, they didn't put it under the student, but if you're a foreign worker, I guess it's the same with student. If you have a dependent who is not in school that needs open work, they cannot qualify again.
Okay.
For open work.
If you have a dependent
children.
If you have dependent children,
your spouse can get open work permit, but your dependent children cannot. So they have to get maybe study permit to go to school or something like that. Yeah. Or if they are working age and they don't want to go to university, apply for their own open work permit on their own, but not as your dependent.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah. So for international students, he has to be 16 months or more. Master's program. It has to be a doctoral degree program. Or some selected professional or eligible program. I think in one of our early video, we talked about those eligible. You need to go online and check it. There are some like people doing medicine. Because, medicine is a second degree, but it's a bachelor's degree.
A bachelor's program,
so then there are Bachelor of Education. They put education there because education is very important in Canada. People that their spouse are doing Bachelor of Education can still come with open work permit. Right? There are other areas anyway. So you need to always check. Always. I cannot overemphasize on it. Immigration is a changing environment, if I say it right. Immigration policy is not stable. It's not fixed. You can't say what I know today is current for tomorrow, next tomorrow. So no matter what you're listening to, what you're reading online, always double check that rule or that regulation you're following is still in date. Check it on CIC website. So whatever you like, say you're saying, I want to know the requirement for study permit. Just type requirement for study permits in Canada. Then in capital letter at the end, put CIC. That will give you the first page that will come up with the Government of Canada page. And that is that's the only website I go to.
That's the most correct.
Any other person can be bloggers trying to get you to listen to them, right? Or may not be bloggers wanting to listen to them. Could have been an old video. Because if we post this video today, it's relevant for today, for this month. Maybe next month it changes. Next year it changes, but the video is still there.
It's still there,
And then you listen to it, you say, I heard this lady speak. Yes, but she was talking as of that time.
How long ago,
Do you understand? So always check that policy and ensure that it's still in date.
So now, does it mean that this 16 month and above thing, is it only for universities? What if you want to attend a college? Maybe a 2-year program.
No. College. From the previous changes in 2024. Oh my God. It's 2025. It's a new year.
2025,
Yeah, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
So from the previous changes in 2024, people doing college programs were removed from open work permit for their spouse.
Okay.
So if you're doing a college program, your spouse won't be able to come to Canada on open work.
Even if it's a 2-year or 3-year program?
They can't come. Some bachelor's degree, they can't come. They can come as a visitor or they can come and study in Canada as a student themselves, but not as your dependent on open work permit, no.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we're going to call it a day here.
All right.
It's been really enlightening, talking with you and you, exposing a lot of stuff, I believe our listeners have learned a lot today from all the things that we've discussed here. And I want to encourage our listeners, right? If after listening to these videos that we publish and you have questions bordering around these topics or any topic regarding study abroad or immigration to Canada or to the US or to New Zealand or to wherever, just put these questions in the comment section and we will just, make a video of those questions, answering those questions in those videos. Then you can just go back and watch them and get the responses that you want. Unless you want probably a one-on-one thing, then you can get in touch with us. But for the most part, we'll just be answering those questions and then posting them up. All you have to do is just watch them. That's it. Okay. So thank you for watching today's video. Thank you for being a part of it. Thank you for being with us here, Dr. Sandra.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your presence here. Thank you for all of your knowledge and everything that you're giving out to the people.
Thank you.
And I believe those who are watching are also appreciative of, all the information that you're dishing out to them, right?
Yeah.
We're going to do this again next time, and we're going to be coming up with different topics, different, discussions, different information. So watch out. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you go ahead, subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell. So when these videos drop, you'll be the first to get notified. Okay? Until next time, from me and from you, I guess.
Yeah.
Take care.
Take care.
And bye-bye.
Bye.